Mold actually hijacks your brain. It's a bully and it comes into your body and exhausts your immune system. If you have been indoors, you have been exposed to mold. You do not want to work with somebody who is financially incentivized to rip out your walls. Once you understand how mold works in the body, now you can start designing really good protocols for it.
You are in the right place if you are a sensitive patient, if you have a complex case, if you're like, I have a medical mystery and have no idea where to start. Yeah, I was in a moldy building. Maybe it was that one time in a hotel, it smelled musty. Or, yeah, I ate this salad and ever since I haven't really been feeling well. Or when I was overseas, it was a fun trip. But then at the end, I didn't feel good. Well, I went to the hospital and they said I didn't have a parasite. Or oh, I constantly have these allergies. I mean, I'm fine other than that. But yeah, you have something new going on with toxins. What's going on with that?
Oh, we decided to give in and do Toxin University. It's a year-long certification just for practitioners to understand detox physiology, because I was really tired of the fluffy stuff that's out there. Like, oh, it plays on the internet, so I'll talk about detox, or do my 1 product or a 3-product 10-day cleanse. Like, that's not real, and you can hurt people who are sensitive and have real health issues. So, just had to bite the bullet and provide the real practitioner certification.
Sinclair has her own healing story, and if you could give us the highlights and lowlights of that, just to give people hope, I think it would be extremely informative and instrumental in helping people to not give up.
My story is not special. It just sucks. It's not unusual, though, is my point. I think a lot of us, we think of ourselves as a little on the sensitive side, and the warning signals creep in very slowly. Like, oh, I'm sensitive to the energy. I'm empathic. I feel the stress in my body. Okay, and that's kind of our story about ourselves. But when I look back, the signals were all there that certain exposures were changing my health timeline, and I didn't understand it until it was too late, and I ended up in the hospital thinking that I was dying. And when you're laying there at the mercy of whoever is on shift, and that story changes every time there's a shift change, it's very, very scary when you think you're admitted for a heart attack, but your EKG is fine. Oh, and they run the MRI because there must be like a tumor pressing on something, or, some kind of, emergency that they could address surgically. Nope. MRI looks clear. Subsequent scans, x-rays, you feel like you're dying, or I did. I felt like I was dying, and less and less answers. And so I was watching these hospital bills rack up. I was uninsured. I was freaked out. This little health practitioner running my own little practice, thinking that I was living the dream life, and completely out of my depth with my own body. And it was very scary. And I checked myself out of that hospital without even filling out any paperwork. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I just walked out because I thought I was going home to die. And Michael, my now husband, was also sick. We just moved into a house together, and, we're in the honeymoon phase of our relationship, and I crashed, and suddenly he was carrying both of us, and he got too ill to do that, and both of our practices were gone. Like, our dreams were just gone overnight. I think that's actually a lot of people's stories, though. We went from 4% of adults in the 1960s in America having a chronic condition to over 60% of us now. And over 85% of us are metabolically unwell in some way. 61% of us have had persistent gut dysfunction. That's like a lot of people. So when you're looking around your friends and your age cohort wondering, should I be feeling this way? If your barometer is, am I the same as everyone else? Then you're going to get the wrong information, because just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. So, and especially women, we get gaslit a lot because the research treats us like our friend Dr. Betty Murray says, like we're bikinis to medicine. Like, the only research that we get is about our breasts or, sexual health that's specific to us.
Well, and even that, it's barely, come on.
Barely. Otherwise, we get treated like small men, and our physiology is different, and our needs are different. Our circadian rhythms are different. The demands on our detox pathways are different, all of it. So we get gaslit into oh, it's genetics, or oh, it's perimenopause, or oh, it's menopause. I went through menopause in my 20s. And they were like, well, has this ever happened to anybody else in your family? And I was like, well, it's happening to my cousin right now. And they're like, oh, so there's probably a genetic component. It's like, and that was the end of the conversation. You and I share some of the same root causes. The truth is there's not that many root causes out there. That's why it's so important to actually focus on them, because the expressions of distress can be myriad. Yours and my symptoms have some overlap, but not a ton. So would we have even been sent to the same specialist? Probably not, even though we both had SIBO back in the day and, you know, fibromyalgia style symptoms. I don't know if you ever got a fibromyalgia diagnosis.
Oh, yeah. I got the shots, the whole bit. Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Totally. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, when you get down this like rabbit hole of this constellation of symptoms, you get further and further away from the actual investigation of what went wrong originally, right? So that's why we're so passionate, you and I both, about mold, right? And helping people understand the cascade of distress that can happen in the body when it comes to mold exposure. Because you and I both worked in it. We both lived in it accidentally. Nobody was talking to us about that.
And then I was a mold denier. Totally.
You were, yeah.
I was such a mold denier. Because it meant I had to leave a building where I had worked for 20 years. The women in the makeup room at the TV station who were really exposed to it were getting breast cancer. They were having personality changes. Like that was wild. Like really nice people were just turning into very unfortunate behavior. And it was a slow, not all of them, but it was a slow progression over time or degradation over time. And it was just like, what is going on?
Well, I think that's a really good call out, actually, because mold actually hijacks your brain. And I don't think people understand that. So we're still having this conversation as if it is separate. Like, I love the developments in the mental health conversation nowadays, right? Because Michael and I both originated in mental health. So this is very near and dear to my heart. But now we're expanding. Okay, now we understand the nervous system is a part of that process. It's not just mental and intellectual and emotional. Like, there's a physiological response going on with these nervous system patterns. But that community of professionals is still talking about the nervous system as if it is divorced from the rest of the body, which is insane. It's really irresponsible, because mold is actually very toxic to the nervous system directly. So if you are inhaling mold, you can instantly annoy your immune system, which will impact your nervous system. Mycotoxins from the mold spores can directly impact your olfactory nerve and go straight to the brain instantly and create mood changes immediately in a moldy building and also over time.
I'm just going to sidebar this for just a second. I had a dear friend recently have a psychotic break. To the credit of the hospital and the psychiatric department of the hospital, this doesn't have to do with mold, it has to do with tick-borne diseases. The psychiatrist did not want to touch the case until all physical things had been ruled out. So she got tested for syphilis. She got tested for UTIs first out of the gate. She got tested for Lyme, tick-borne diseases, and a couple of other things that thyroid can also make you like lose it in the elderly. She's elderly. So once they eliminated the tick-borne diseases, then psychiatry could come in and start working with her because she was negative for all of it. But they had so many cases of where tick-borne diseases were causing psychotic breaks that psychiatric is not going to fix, that they just don't even touch it until that's eliminated, which I thought was fascinating. So next, I'd love to see them test for mold and add that to the repertoire.
Honestly, that's why we're building Toxin University, because I'm sick of being dependent on other people's research. And, a portion of every Toxin University cell goes towards research. We're pulling together all the experts in this space about their little niches and helping non-licensed practitioners who are board certified, like, FDNs, all the way up through MDs, DOs, surgeons, and all the chiropractors and acupuncturists in between that want to learn this stuff. Like, we have to get more literate, work within your specialty, work within your scope, but understand and be able to recognize mold, because mold can look like anxiety attacks. It can look like histamine flares and skin issues. It can look like autoimmune diseases and gut distress. It can look like joint pain, or if you're real lucky, it can be all of the above, right? So you have to know how to see this stuff. And because mold is so good at rewiring the brain for, just to pick on that for a second, it can look like depression with certain types of mold, or it can look like anxiety and overfunctioning and compensating. It could be either or both. And because mold is so good at creating this immune distortion in the response, you can get this overactive immune response. Now the immune system is reacting to everything, multiple chemical sensitivity, histamine sensitivities that you did not grow up with. And now suddenly you're flushing with a glass of wine or a high histamine meal or fermented foods you can't tolerate anymore. Like, that's a warning sign. Reacting to probiotics because they increase histamine levels in the gut, and when those probiotics were supposed to help you. Those are all warning signs that your histamine bucket is filling up too fast, and you have to ask yourself why. Mold is not the only root cause for that, but it is certainly an epidemic of our time. And so we need to be able to test for it and rule it out. And that's the good news is this is not something you have to it's not mysterious. Like, I wonder if I've been exposed to mold. You absolutely have. Like, statistically, 85% of our buildings have had water damage. It takes less than 24 hours for mold to set up shop. If you have been indoors, you have been exposed to mold. It's estimated that 50% of our buildings have a current active, issue. So we just want to be able to assess. We can do that with a urine panel. What molds are in your body? Are they environmentally, driven? Are they some of the black molds that are really hard on you? Or is it stuff that you can work through with just a gentle detox and it's only a part of your story? Or are you eating mold? Because our food sources are now so contaminated with mold in a way that they never were before we started creating these Roundup ready crops that can withstand such high levels of herbicides and pesticides. Because as you weaken the weeds' immune defense systems, you weaken the harvest crop's immune system as well, which means the molds that are naturally present in the soil are taken up through the roots of that crop and put into the harvest before it's even picked. The synergy between glyphosate, which is that active ingredient in Roundup that has made the news so much this year, and mold is well documented. We have known this since 2011. There are multiple studies that show, oh goodness, there's more mold in our food now because we're spraying glyphosate on it. But nobody is talking about this. So it could be home mold or food mold, but if you're getting behavioral changes, gut issues like SIBO, like if your SIBO isn't clearing with Shivan's protocol, it could just be there's just a missing layer.
If your SIBO is not resolving, we always look at mold because it is a huge barrier to healing. Now, before everybody starts bleeding from the eyes, tears of sadness, let's talk about how we can address it, how to test for it. What's your favorite test? You just mentioned a urine test.
There are multiple urine tests out there. So what we're looking for from a urine test for mycotoxins is how many markers do they have so that we're getting, enough out of our investment. So they're not all the same. As of this recording, Vibrant has the highest number of mycotoxins in their mycotoxin panel. So we want to test for as many as possible because there's hundreds of mold species out there and they each secrete different types of mycotoxins. So it's complicated. Like, one of the things we look for is varicarin A and J because it's created by black mold, but there are like 8 varicarins and they're only testing for 2. So we want to acknowledge, okay, the testing we have right now is not perfect, but it sure goes a long way towards giving us a great window into our health. So we test the body and we also test the environment.
Have you ever been overwhelmed by supplements? Where to buy them, making sure they're authentic. You want professional grade ones? Well, I want to tell you about Dr. Allison Seebecker's Fullscript Dispensary. This is a place where you can get those types of high quality supplements that are vetted, no counterfeits here, and there are over 15,000 of them for you to choose from with exclusive pricing. She's also created community plans with suggestions for some of the favorite conditions like allergies, SIBO, IBS, UTIs, the whole alphabet. So check it out. It's in the links below, and it is one of the best ways to get your supplements delivered to your door. And remember, exclusive pricing. Okay, see you there. Let's say somebody's not in Carlsbad, California, coming to the Sala Center. How can they locally look for some mold inspector and remediator who is mold, not just literate, but expert? Any tips?
Yeah, I know it's scary. The first thing we do is we focus on the body because that's what you have control over and that's what matters the most, right? So I would always, especially on a limited budget, I would always test the body first. We don't prioritize serum testing, so checking for mold in the blood because so many people are working on a limited budget and we want to see what you're excreting. Because it gives us more information. So if I could only run one panel on you to test for mold, I would test you with a urine mycotoxin panel like that, you know? However, because we do want to know, are you living in an active mold problem? We created like a free 100-point mold checklist for people so you could start visually assessing and looking for issues that warrant a deeper look because that is free. And you want to look at your home and your workplace, see it with fresh eyes and be more in control of this because this is something to be on the lookout for forever for you and your loved ones. The way we have made buildings is not ideal for human health. So we have some work to do. It's not to be afraid of your space, but we want to be able to train you like look for the bubbling in the paint. Look under the windowsills. Is there a swelling underneath after rain? That's telling you that drywall, like there's an improper seal in that window. And we want to tackle that head on before it becomes a giant nightmare. Yes, you're going to see like obvious things like texture, color changes, and like warped wood floors. Like everybody's thinking about like, well, I don't see any mold in my house. I would know. It's actually usually not visible. You're going to see tiny little signs. It's time to dig deeper. But our favorite way to assess the house, we had to create a whole roadmap for this because people were hiring really expensive remediators and spending all their money on it up front and being very much at the whim of this one person. And whether or not that one person has your best interest in mind is scary. That's a free-for-all right now. It's really is the Wild West out there because we're trying to create some centralized standards for mold assessment and remediation and mold detox, but they're not all created equal. And so we don't want you to be at the mercy of people locally that way. So it's best practice is make sure you only assess the house with someone who does not do remediation. You do not want to work with somebody who is financially incentivized to rip out your walls. Their whole job needs to be, I obsess about finding it for you. So the ways to look for the right person for that, we can give you a quick checklist here before we wrap up today, but we actually like to run an ERMI first before you ever bring a professional because an ERMI is you using your own test kit, which you can get from us or you can get, a bunch of different places.
And you spell that ERMI.
ERMI, but I want you to get an ERMI Plus, and I want to have a few extra markers. So you can find all that guidance, on our site about how to do it because we don't want to gatekeep this. We want you to have this information. But it's just a simple Swiffer test where you go around your house and you get all the little sneaky spots that don't get dusted or vacuumed, often. The tops of TVs, the tops of door jambs, the baseboards, in the cracks, under the cabinets. Because black molds are heavier, and if you do just air sample testing, if you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a mold inspector that comes in and sets up a tripod in the center of your room, collects air with a little worry thing, I'm pulling air in from eye level, is that going to get a reliable representation for you of the heavy black mold spores that don't stay suspended in the air often? No, it's not. It's very limited. So we want to know before you ever hire an inspector what that ERMI says. It doesn't mean we're taking the ERMI score at face value. That's where a lot of people get tripped up. They think, oh, the score means this, or my guy said the ERMI sucks because the score is not real. We don't care about what the algorithm of the ERMI says. We're looking for the presence of certain molds in Q3 and Q4 is because they are marked out by quadrant and level of toxicity. Then you can hire an inspector. You do not have to disclose to them that you did an ERMI. What certifications do they have about indoor air quality? Do they understand HVACs? Will they get into your HVAC and look around? Because it's not enough to just look at the grates. I've hired mold inspectors that looked just at the grate and went, well, there's no like visible residue on the vent. It's like, dude, the mold is usually on the coils themselves, like deep in the HVAC. Try again, dude. So we want somebody who's familiar with HVACs who will go in and not just do a visual inspection. You can do your own visual inspection of your house. We teach you how to do that for free, which you should do before you ever bring somebody in. But then when you do bring someone in, we want them to be able to take samples, right? And do a mixture. They should bring in their own moisture camera and thermal cameras and understand proper HVAC setup, because so often an HVAC was improperly set up. And so you get the wrong airflow and pressure, and it creates the perfect environment for mold. So they should list all this out for you on their website. They should be so proud of the depth and breadth and care that they take. And we're always like following people and vetting them, because this really is the Wild West. So I feel for everybody trying to do this. I get it. But my goal is to arm you with enough information that you don't have to fly somebody in from across the United States, because that's not real for most people. It's just not. To that end, I love doing an ERMI, and then I actually love bringing in a mold dog with somebody who will also bring in the moisture camera, the thermal cameras, and is at least a little bit HVAC literate, and try to do that in one swoop, because the mold dog coming in and taking a pass at this is usually much less expensive and can go right to the dishwasher and alert. It's time to pull out this dishwasher. There's a leak behind it. Right to the fridge, alert. So we want to look for bulldogs in the area, but we also want to make sure that we're not skewing the results with a mold dog. So what does that mean? We want to take out all the scents in the house. So like scented candles, potted plants, like just make this easy. You should never have Glade plugins anyway. Like throw those out.
Oh, and by the way, the FAB, like the FAB wind type, those garbage bags and the plugins and all of it, and now it's in fabric sprays. It has been in fabric sprays for a really long time. Oh my gosh. Please. Toxic, 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 in my personal experience and opinion. Thank you.
It's so true. So I know I'm going on and on, but it's an important question to answer thoroughly. And that gives you more than enough to go on. And of course, we have free guides for you around this, and we have a course about all this for you if you guys need more support. But the point is, we have to be advocates for ourselves, because mold is so good at distorting the body's nervous system, immune system, age you and fast forward, disrupt your detox. It, can distort your hormones. So we really want to take this seriously. If I could go back in time, I would have taken action on this much faster. I thought, oh no, I don't feel well. I have Lyme and co-infections. I have Hashimoto's. I have fibromyalgia. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have tinnitus. And I have a mold problem. No, ma'am. Flip those around. I had mold exposure that was making me susceptible to all those things at a profound level.
And mold and fungus and parasites fungus is mold, mold's a fungus, have a supreme intelligence. My dear friend Jill Krista is the first one that really just laid that out for me. And I've said this before on the show. I just had no energy. I'm like, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go do that exercise and sit in the sun. And she goes, oh, that's just the supreme intelligence of mold. It's fine. That's his job. You can overcome that. I was like, it definitely felt like something else was going on and something else was driving it, because usually that wouldn't be a major issue. So if you start to think of it like that, it's important not to be afraid of it, but instead be a sovereign being that you are. I know we only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk to you about the treatments that you have at Salus Center and the way you teach people and help people resolve these issues. So let's get into some solutions.
The important thing is to provide stability to the body when you're going through a mold detox, because not all mold detoxes are created equal. So I see people crash all the time on them, and then they go on the internet and they say, mold detox doesn't work. Mold detox isn't real. It's like, well, I could tell you exactly what's wrong with that protocol. It's missing elements, and there's some stupid things in it that were a waste of your money. And I say that with all the love and respect in my heart. What we want to do is respect the body's own healing responses and work with them. So we need things to soothe the nervous system and get you back into parasympathetic dominance, because mold doesn't like it when you're in parasympathetic dominance. It likes to slow down your detox pathways and get you out of being able to digest and repair well. Like you said, that's supreme intelligence. So if you understand how mold thinks, because it's a bully and it comes into your body and exhausts your immune system and brings in biofilm with it, like, hey, biofilm, I'm sending you signals. You should grow faster now that I'm here because I want you to distract the immune system and suppress it too. Hey, parasites, how about you come in and also create havoc while I, at the organism level, elbow all the good guys out of the way because I want to snack on these cells and I shall not release poison that inflames bile ducts, that irritates the nervous system, that robs the body of things like ADH. That's your antidiuretic hormone, so you can't sleep through the night anymore.
They'll really mess with you. Yeah.
Once you understand how mold works in the body, now you can start designing really good protocols for it. And yes, you can come into the clinic and do like medical level care here with us, or just use like the nervous system support tools to retrain the nervous system for that. You can also do this at home. You know, what I love to do is teach people how to mold detox at home. You do not need medical interventions, usually, if you catch this early enough. And mold-driven damage is reversible. That's why it's so thrilling to work on this. Like, I cannot stand the practitioners that may have made a name for themselves and a following around mold that talk about this like the body's broken and like really lean into the drama of this. I think it's totally unnecessary. This is so exciting to find out mold is your problem because it's so fixable. So it's just the order of operations is essential to understand. So nervous system first, because we're going to relax our way into healing. You can do at-home nervous system exercises for that. You can do, yes, the vagus nerve support tools are very helpful. That's not the whole story to the nervous system. So you may need additional support from that, but that's okay. I like giving people like, you know, topical GABA, for example, in the evenings to like power down the body because mold disrupts your glutamate and GABA balance, your neurotransmitters. So glutamate is that like enough, the right amount of glutamate is like, let's learn, let's be alert, right? Let's be present. But too much glutamate is, woo, too alert, too present, very anxious now, very upset. Can't feel safe in the body. And so because mold can, you know, really force your hand with glutamate and not give you enough time to produce GABA and actually literally interfere with that process, we want to bring in more GABA early on. So because GABA is the brake for the nervous system, glutamate is the accelerator. I like to supplement with GABA. I don't enjoy oral GABA. I just don't see it getting the right results, but there are a couple of topical GABAs that are great. And it's just a nice transdermal pathway. It's not one more pill. So there's that piece. I also like the really dialing in your sleep area so that your body's working harder to detox and drain while you're asleep. That's my obsession with the EMFs. I think the EMF and the mold conversation should be the same conversation.
It's kindling and kerosene and a match. Yeah.
Absolutely. Exactly. So I really invite you guys to consider your strategy to make your bedroom a sanctuary that is electronics free and low voltage, low disruption and distortion to the body so you can sleep and drain and detox and work overtime while you are unconscious that way. That's what you're supposed to do.
We got rid of our sleep number bed. I hate to say it.
I have been yelling at you about that for years. I am so proud of you. I can't wait to tell Michael.
Took a long time.
His way of checking on you sometimes, like Michael's way of asking, have you talked to Shivan lately? How's she doing? Is, does Shivan still have her sleep number bed?
Yeah. It was the massaging kind, up and down. No, I'm not saying that all sleep numbers are bad. If you love yours and you're healthy, that's fantastic. It wasn't a fit for us, and we'd had it for 10 years. It was our 10th wedding anniversary present to ourselves. I've never spent so much money in such a short period of time, even with cars. But the other thing is the way that they are, just quickly, is like a raft that you know, inflate and deflate within like a capsule of fabric and foam, and so it traps moisture. So it also could be a source of mold.
One thing I want to just note when we're in the solution section right here is that because mold is really good at slowing down bile flow, because it inflames your bile ducts in your liver, it's very inflammatory to the gallbladder if you still have one. We really want to dial in bowel support. You must be moving your bowels daily. when it comes to mold detox and just in general. So people often need additional bowel support when they're dealing with a mold issue, or your body's already overcompensated because it cannot detox mold fast enough. And so now your microbiome's all out of whack, and now you're all the way in the other camp of diarrhea. It still could be driven by mold, though. That's the annoying thing. So if you're on the constipated side, which is more common, please prioritize non-habit forming bowel support like an ozonated magnesium, right? Like that's, as long as it's got no fillers in it, it's not to absorb magnesium, it's to deliver encouragement to the bowels, draw water into the colon, get some motility moving, and, it's non-addictive, so that's good.
There's so much more. Would you please tell me how people can find you?
Yeah. So if you're a practitioner listening to this, we'd love to see you in Toxin University. If you want to become literate at this stuff, it does take a year. So give yourself grace and please be intentional about who you're learning from, because there's a lot of master detox in 8 weeks. That's not real. That's just not. We want to really embrace the complexity of the body's physiology and really be responsible in how we shepherd somebody through this journey. If you are somebody working on your own health, we'd love to support you. You've got a free guide from us to mold self-assessment, that I'm sure Shivan can provide you, because we give that to her audience just because we love her. You can find us at detoxnation.com and hang out with us on Instagram, Sinclair Kennally. We have a podcast, Detox Nation. So we'd love to see you. And just if you need a reminder that this doesn't have to be overwhelming. Healing in this day and age is more complex than it used to be, but it's not mysterious. And there's more information and really cool tools than ever before. It's just a matter of sorting through them and finding the right path for you. But you can do it. I was a giant wuss about healing myself, and I'm inherently lazy about self-care. And I had a huge chip on my shoulder, and I was extremely impacted by the mental health issues that come with mold, the anxiety, the depression, all of that. So I know if I can do it, as a giant wuss, you can too. You do not have to be braver or smarter than you are right now. Mold makes people brain foggy. It doesn't mean that's the end of your story. It's just where you're at today, but it's all fixable.
It's all fixable. Yeah, if you have a chronic condition, it is very easy to go, I will never be better. I am totally identified with this condition. This is my new identity, and it just doesn't have to be that way. And I'm not saying it's easy. I am saying what Sinclair is saying is that a treated chronic condition can either be, many cases, resolved or can be managed and you can feel 100% better. Ask a diabetic, right, who's on insulin. So this is like an example of what a managed situation is. And there's so much hope because of Sinclair and Michael really specializing in this and bringing it to you in very approachable, accessible, graceful, and elegant ways. So thank you very much, Sinclair. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for your advocacy in this space and for giving people so much hope. I don't think you realize how many lives you have changed.
It's just me and Sadie hanging out here, just getting the word out. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. So that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. It genuinely means everything to me. If something in this conversation sparks something for you, share it with a woman or a guy in your life who needs to hear it. That's how this show grows. That's how we heal the planet together. And that's how we really connect. For more resources, free tools, and everything we talked about today, head over to ShivanSarna.com. That's ShivanSarna.com. It's all there waiting for you. And until next time, keep asking the questions, keep finding the answers. You deserve the full picture and the very best. Namaste.